In parts of rural India, homes sit at 35 degrees outside and 24 degrees inside. No air conditioner, no electricity. Just a floor made of dirt that costs $4 to lay. That floor is called lepa. It has been cooling homes for roughly 4,000 years, and modern building science is only now catching up to why it works. Most people in the modern world treat flooring as something permanent: concrete, tile, hardwood. You pour it once and forget it, but the lepa floor is remade seasonally. Women in villages across Rajasthan and Gujarat mix black cotton soil, cow dung, and water into a smooth paste. They apply it by hand in thin coats and let it cure in the shade. The whole process takes a morning. The smell, once it cures, is almost nothing. Faintly mineral, faintly earthy. The surface becomes smooth enough to eat off of. In many homes, it is. What it does not become, under any circumstances, is warm. Touch a lepa floor at noon in July, and it feels like a stone pulled from a river. The question is why, and the answer goes deeper than most people expect. Heat moves through materials at different speeds. This is called thermal conductivity. Concrete is dense. It absorbs heat fast and releases it fast, which is why a concrete patio bakes your feet at 3 in the afternoon. Clay mixed with organic material behaves differently. It absorbs heat slowly. It releases it even more slowly. By the time the afternoon sun peaks, the floor is still working through heat from the morning. The cow dung is not decorative. It is not superstition. It contains cellulose fibers, thin strands from undigested plant matter that act like insulation inside the paste. Those fibers trap small air pockets. Air conducts heat poorly, so the finished floor is not solid clay. It is clay laced with millions of tiny air gaps. Engineers call this structure a low-conductivity composite. Village women just call it the right way to make a floor. There is a second mechanism that most summaries miss entirely: evaporative cooling. Fresh lepa contains moisture. As that moisture evaporates, it pulls heat from the surface, the same physics that makes sweating work. A newly applied floor can drop surface temperature by 6 to 8 degrees Celsius compared to the ambient room temperature. That is not a rounding error. That is the difference between comfortable and miserable. Reapplication is the key. Lepa is not a one-time treatment. In peak summer, April through June, floors are recoated every 2 to 4 weeks. Each fresh coat restores the moisture content. Each coat reactivates the evaporative cooling. The home is not fighting the heat with a passive barrier. It is actively managing temperature through a living surface. That is a fundamentally different strategy than anything sold at a hardware store. Consider what this means for a summer afternoon in Rajasthan. Outside, the air sits at 44 degrees Celsius. The sun has been on the roof since 6 in the morning. The walls, if they are stone or brick, are beginning to radiate. But inside, the floor is pulling heat downward. The air near the ground stays cool. Children sit on it. Elderly family members rest on it. The floor is doing what an air conditioner does, but without a single watt of electricity. The practice is documented across South Asia. Similar floors appear in parts of sub-Saharan Africa, where stabilized earth floors made with termite mound clay and ash show almost identical thermal properties. In Yemen, rammed earth homes have used comparable layering techniques for centuries. The physics is the same everywhere. Human beings in hot climates, working without textbooks, arrived at the same answer independently. Architecture researchers at institutions including the Central Building Research Institute in Roorkee, India, have run controlled measurements on lepa floors versus concrete floors in identical room setups. In direct comparisons, lepia floors maintained surface temperatures roughly 9 to 12 degrees lower than adjacent concrete during peak afternoon hours. Those studies are not widely circulated outside of sustainable building circles, but the numbers are not close. Here is the uncomfortable contrast. A standard split-system air conditioner for one room costs between $300 and $600 to purchase. It requires a reliable electricity grid. It emits roughly 2 kilograms of CO2 per hour of operation in coal-heavy grids. A LIPA floor costs between $2 and $5 in raw materials per application. It emits nothing. It requires no infrastructure. And it works where the grid does not exist. The global cooling problem is not abstract. The International Energy Agency estimated in 2022 that air conditioner ownership would triple by 2050, driven almost in India, Indonesia, and sub-Saharan Africa. If that demand is met by conventional electric cooling, it adds roughly 1.5 billion tons of CO2 to annual emissions. That is roughly the total current output of Japan. What happens if even a fraction of those homes use passive cooling instead? The obstacle is not technical, it is perception. In countries where concrete floors are associated with wealth and modernity, earthen floors carry the stigma of poverty. Families who can afford to upgrade often do, to tile, to terrazzo, to polished cement. The cooling they lose is invisible to them at the time of purchase. The status they gain is immediate. This is not ignorance. It is a rational response to a social signal, but it has a cost. A small number of architects and NGOs are now working on what they call dignified earthen design, LIPA floors with decorative finishes, geometric inlay patterns, natural pigment dyes. The goal is to make the traditional floor feel like a design choice rather than a default. Early projects in Madhya Pradesh and Odisha are finding that when local craftswomen lead the installations, community uptake is significantly higher. The technology was never the problem. A $4 floor that requires no electricity, no factory, and no supply chain, and that outperforms materials costing 100 times more, has been sitting in plain sight for 4 millennia. The knowledge to build it belongs to women in villages who learned it from their mothers. What that says about which knowledge systems we choose to fund, publish, and scale is worth sitting with. So, should we be building more from what we already know, or is there something about traditional solutions that makes us distrust them?